Are in Atlantic City, and that means Edson Barboza, one of the most feared strikers in any division, faces Kevin Lee, the wrestler who's looking to reload for another title run with UFC gold in his crosshairs. And it's a featherweight fight so nice they did it twice. Frankie Edgar and Cub Swanson run back their 5-round classic on the Jersey Shore. The FS1 UFC Fight Night weigh-in show starts now. Well, from Jersey turnpikes to gridlocked highways, they're in Atlantic City. We're here in the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles. I'm Megan O'Leary alongside a couple of LA locals, UFC commentator and analyst Jimmy Smith, and the 66-fight veteran Yves Edwards. Yves, big fights often come with big drama. This weekend, no exception.
There's a lot of drama going on. The UFC scriptwriters are back there just changing things up.
With chaos comes opportunity, big opportunity for these fighters tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. They're in Atlantic City, and Heidi Androl is actually on location in New Jersey for us as well. So, Heidi, I hear there was some drama at this morning's official weigh-in.
That's right, Megan. This morning's weigh-in was not without its drama. When main event fighter Kevin Lee stepped on the scale with just 3 minutes to spare in that 2-hour allotted time period mandated by the New Jersey Athletic Commission, he was 1 pound over the legal limit. Now, he was visibly upset. He said this has never happened before. I asked him if he did anything differently. He said, no, maybe that was the problem. I'll try to get him to elaborate on that a little later in an interview. Now, he will forfeit an agreed upon percentage of his purse to his opponent in this one, Edson Barboza. Now, Aspen Ladd, she also missed weight. She came in 1.8 pounds over the legal limit. Her opponent in this one, Leslie Smith, will not take the fight. She opted not to, so this one is off the card. Another preliminary bout pulled Magomed Bibliatov and Yuta Sasaki. Now, Bibliatov is having a little problem with a back injury. It's been lingering. It flared up late last night, so this one is scrapped as well. All right, Megan, that's the scoop from AC. We'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Heidi. All right, Jimmy. Well, last week we saw Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje in a classic. They were at 5th and 6th ranked lightweights. This time around, it's Edson Barboza versus Kevin Lee. Let's start with the Brazilian.
It could be a classic again. Why? Edson Barboza's feet are incredible. Not just the knockout ability of his kicks. We all know that. His ability to control range, his ability to angle, that's what he's great at. And a lot of people with his style, they look for that head kick knockout, the highlight reel. He can break you down to the ribs, break you down to the body, the legs. He can make you want to quit. And right when those hands come down, that's when he knocks you out. Incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, and Kevin Lee, he has the tools that he needs to take those strengths away from Edson Barboza. Those kicks can only happen if Edson Barboza's on his feet, and Kevin Lee's striking is on point, but he's got to use that to set up his takedowns, set up the shots, and keep Edson Barboza moving backwards so that he can't blast those legs and take those legs away from Kevin Lee. If he can get to the top position, he can control, work towards a submission, keep Edson Barboza on his back, and look good doing it.
Yeah, and both men obviously looking to get back in the win column in a big way tomorrow night. But Yves, in the co-main event, Frankie Edgar and Cub Swanson throw down once again after their first bout in 2014. What are you expecting from this rematch?
You know, the first round in this first fight was competitive, but Frankie figured out the takedown is what he needed. He does that again, he gets himself another W.
Now, rematches, though, are all about adjustments, and Cub Swanson has said, hey, I've been here before. I think I figured Edgar out. I'm going to be a better fighter this time around. What he did in the gym in between fights is going to be crucial.
Yeah, and Cub Swanson actually said he put an extra emphasis on his wrestling, working with Mark Munoz even to prepare for this bout. But with that, let's send it out to the boardwalk with Brendan Fitzgerald in Atlantic City.
What's going on, everybody? Atlantic City, thanks for coming to the weigh-ins. Great card we have for you tomorrow night. Give it up for Brooklyn, Luciana, and Ashley. Sean Shelby is on hand with us as well. Great card we have here at Boardwalk Hall. Excited to get it going. It starts on UFC Fight Pass at welterweight between Tony Martin and Keita Nakamura. First to the scale, Keitaro Nakamura.
Keita Nakamura, this is a guy, toughness is really what I think about. He keeps on keeping on, walks through punches, walks through strikes to get you to the ground and finish. You saw the Li Jinglong fight. He walked through everything
Official
in order to take the back and come back. That's his ability, his confidence in his chin. That's been his ace in the hole.
You know, that Japanese samurai spirit.
He takes on Tony
And you see it in Keita Nakamura.
Tony Martin says when he's not fighting or training, he's playing games. In fact, he always has a deck of cards in his pocket. He also told me that now after moving to 170, this weight cut was pretty easy. He feels like if he plays his cards right in his career, he can make an impact in this division.
A card shock we got.
No, but it's about what you're not showing. Both guys have great ground game.
Prelims on FS1 get started at light heavyweight. Corey Anderson taking on Patrick Cummins. First to the scale, Patrick Cummins.
Patrick Durkin Cummins. Man, I love this guy. I love the stash and the smile. But, you know, he's got a strong wrestling background coming out of Penn State, and he hasn't drifted away from his roots there. He's on a 2-fight win streak now, and his last fight coming against another Division I wrestler in Gian Vellante. He's facing a Division III wrestler in this fight, and he's going to have to use that wrestling pedigree against him. But this is MMA. Punches change everything, and he's got to set up those takedowns with his hands.
He takes on Corey.
What I'm curious about is the time traveling from 1870. Does that wear him out with that mustache? You know what I mean? I just wonder about it. His opponent, obviously, Corey Anderson. What I like about him, great with the lead hand, great with the jab, good footwork. He mixes it up well. He's had defensive issues at medium range, long range. That's what's cost him, I think, chest to chest, in close, mixing it up. He has a great opportunity in this fight. He's got to stay away from the brawl.
This is a great fight, you guys. This is the first FS1 prelim tomorrow night, so this will be the first fight that you're seeing on FS1. You can't really start with a better fight between these two wrestlers. This could be done very quickly.
It could be, and I really wish we could get Patrick Cummins to sell this fight. Step on up, step on up.
To bark it, as they would say in his parlance.
Next at welterweight, CR Bahadurzada takes on Luan Chagas. First up, Luan Tarzan Chagas.
Now, Tarzan was a middleweight champion for a promotion in Brazil, but he moved down to welterweight when he suffered after suffering his loss. But he suffered a loss by rear naked choke to Eric Silva. He bounced back in his last fight against Jim Wallhead with a rear naked of his own, and if he can do the same tomorrow night, he's going to move himself in a good position to get another fight against the top 15 guy.
Luan Chagas.
17 fights, never gone the distance. He's got the style to entertain,
CR,
that's important.
The great Bahadurzada.
CR Bahadurzada grew up on the streets of Afghanistan as a child. He said he didn't have a role model or anyone to look up to. Now, as the first Afghan UFC fighter, he wants to serve as that inspiration for those boys and girls.
For CR Bahadurzada.
Man, I've trained a little around CR. I've never trained with him, but I was over at one of the promotions in Japan at one point. We're backstage. He's getting ready, helping some other guys get ready for fights. And those guys go hard all the time.
Constantly. It's one of those things where these guys are great finishers,
Next up
great
at
performance, puts you on the map.
Marav Dawalishvili takes on Ricky Simone. First to the scale, making his UFC debut, Ricky Simone.
Now, I remember Ricky Simone from last year in the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. He called his fights there, really good wrestler, really good control. He understands ring generalship, and he's going to need that tomorrow night. He's a real powerful guy, and I want to see him use his striking to set up his wrestling, control the fight.
Official
he
weight,
had his next 2 wins after not getting picked up on the Dana White Tuesday Night Contenders. One win against Chico Camus, a UFC veteran, and his last win was a quick 59-second TKO stoppage.
He's had a little trouble with his pacing, but he could fix that tonight.
Marav Dawalishvili came to the U.S. as an immigrant. He said that it was always his dream to fight in the UFC. Now, after this fight here in Atlantic City, he plans to return to his home country of Georgia to see his family for the first time in 5 years.
This is a fun matchup. This is Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series versus Dana White looking for a fight. So we'll see who comes out victorious in this one, but two very talented young fighters.
And they're both talented wrestlers. Whoever gets that initiation, gets that first takedown, show the guys, look, I'm going to be the bully, that can control the fight to me.
Yeah, especially with these two guys. Wrestling will control this fight.
Next in our featured prelim on FS1, at welterweight, Ryan LaFleur takes on Alex Garcia. First to the scale, Alex, the Dominican Nightmare Garcia.
Alex Garcia said it's his goal to be in the top 10. He's not going to let fighting in enemy territory get in his way of a win here. In fact, he's getting used to it. This is the 4th time he's fought in an opponent's backyard.
what I like about Alex Garcia is a great takedown in his own right to take on another wrestler, but
Official
more
weight,
confidence in his hands. He doesn't mind getting in and throwing big
for
punches.
Alex
That can be the difference
Garcia.
taking on another grappler.
And the key word
He
that you
takes
used to
on
me was big punches. He
Ryan
throws hard
LaFleur.
every time he throws his hands.
Of course, he's got to throw him against Ryan LaFleur. This is a guy, I think, relies on that pressure game, relies on his wrestling game. He's a grinder. He makes the fight miserable, long, difficult. The kind of guy you hate going with in the gym because he's there the entire 25, 35, 45 minutes. That's been his style, wearing opponents down. He do that against a guy we both think is a big puncher. That's the question.
Yeah, I've trained with a lot of those guys
for
down in
Ryan
Long Island
LaFleur.
MMA. I went out there a lot of times for camps, and Ryan LaFleur is one of those guys you don't want to see in front of you in the gym, but all of those guys in there have that style. Ryan is probably the master of that group.
Kicking off the main card on FS1 at lightweight, Jim Miller takes on...
Well, next up on the main card, starting off the festivities, are lightweights Jim Miller and Dan Hooker. Eve, tell us more about Hooker.
Man, Dan Hooker, he's a fun guy. I had him on my show, Thug Jiu-Jitsu Master and Squid Show, just a few days ago, and he tells me, you know what he wants the world to know? That he's from New Zealand, he trains and fights out of New Zealand. He comes out and learns more things from everyone around the world, but he takes all that back to New Zealand. They've got a lot of talent there, and we're just seeing the tip of the spear
Official
in him
weight,
and guys like Israel Adesanya. In the future, we're going to see, I expect to see a lot more tough guys coming out of New Zealand, and Dan Hooker will probably
He
be the
takes
leader
on
of that group.
New Jersey's own Jim Miller.
Blood and guts. What else can you say about Jim Miller? I mean, he's a warrior every single time, taking on big names. The question for me, it's been a long time since he's taken on the young,
Official
hungry,
weight
up-and-coming guy in their prime.
155.5 for Jim
Can he
Miller.
win that kind of fight? I'd say Yancy Medeiros was the last time guy he took on and won. Can he take on another great, hungry young name?
Dan Hooker said he wanted this fight against Jim. This is someone he's looked up to. He wanted
Next
this
up, a ranked matchup
this is
at
a great
bantamweight
fight.
between Aljamain Sterling and Brett Johns. First to the scale, Brett the Pikey Johns.
Well, currently sitting at number 14 in the bantamweight division, the Welshman Brett Johns is coming off that incredible calf slicer victory over Joe Soto, which took him just 30 seconds to secure. He's got a perfect 15-0 record. Obviously excited to be in New Jersey. He wants the crowd to give him some cheers there. But Johns said in the lead up to this fight, he's looking for another spectacular outing, just like he did in the Soto outing. But he said this time he wants to show off some different skills. Wearing the high
Official
socks
weight,
there. Okay, it's a
136.
different look.
That's a steal
Wow.
right there.
Brett Johns.
That's a style we don't see often at weigh-ins.
Man, always talking
Next
out of the
up,
side of his mouth. Man. Gangster.
Aljamain
Gangster.
Funkmaster
Gangster with high
Sterling.
socks.
Now, see, that's an Eve Edwards move, man. Coming out with M&Ms, bro. You know, the thing, the Thug Jitsu master right there.
Man.
Oh, love it. Aljamain Sterling. What do we know about him? Talented, versatile, explosive, confident, but there's a different edge to this fight to me. He's used to being the young up-and-comer taking on the big names. Well, now he's the big name taking on an up-and-comer, looking to make their name off of him. How does he mentally handle that transition? Kind of looking at it from the other side of you.
Yeah, that's a big
Official
deal,
weight,
especially when you have the guy. You're the target now.
135
Yeah.
He was the guy that
for
used to target
Aljamain
those guys
Sterling.
that just beat Renan Barral. You know, everybody knows who Marlon Rice is. He didn't win that fight, but now he's the one that Brett Johns is coming after, and Johns is going to bring a lot to the table. This is the fight that I'm most excited about because when this hits the ground, woo, it's going to be a scramble.
Oh yeah, obviously a lot of respect there. But
Next
this
up
one
at
should be
middleweight,
nonstop
another
for 15
ranked
minutes.
matchup. David Branch takes on Thiago Santos. First to the scale, Thiago Maheta Santos.
Fighting out of American top team, Thiago Maheta Santos. Man, this guy is so powerful. His last fight was so much fun. That fight with, you know, he's just coming forward, and I can't remember his opponent's name off the top of my head right now, but I love watching him fight. I love that fight.
A fellow Smith, Anthony Smith.
Anthony
just,
Smith,
You know,
that's
just because
right.
I'm a Smith, he's a Smith. That's the only reason I know that, bro.
And remember how that fight went. You know, Anthony Smith is a guy who likes to come forward and throw bombs. So is Maheta. Maheta likes to come forward and throw bombs, and that's what those guys
Official
did.
weight,
He's going to do the same thing against David
186
Branch. David
for
Branch's
Thiago
hands are going to
Santos.
be full tomorrow night because Santos puts everything out there to try and take your
He
head.
takes on
I mean, securing
David
4 knockout victories in a
Branch.
row, of course, yeah.
Unbelievable. But he gets a little wild. That's where we might have the opportunity.
David Branch said he had a very intense training camp for his last fight against Yoel Romero, and he had to go back and recalibrate not only his mind but his body. He said that he comes into this one with a much more humbled approach.
That loss snapped an 11-fight win streak. But he said, look, I needed to mentally reset. It was good for me. It's just what I needed. He has to fight like a veteran. We all know the explosive ability of Santos' knockout power.
186.
How do you do that?
Use
your experience, be the veteran, go in there and show some tricks maybe the young guy doesn't know yet.
Yeah, and tie up with him. His key to winning this fight is definitely going to be taking the fight to the mat. That's a big advantage that he has, and he's got to get his hands on Marreta to get that position.
Make it ugly.
Make it ugly.
Make it ugly.
Grind on it.
Next up at heavyweight, Justin Willis takes on Chase Sherman. First to the scale, Chase, the Vanilla Gorilla, Sherman.
What I like is this is a big heavyweight, but he's very, very light on his feet, surprisingly athletic, likes to go in his strike, cuts a lot of angles, has trouble keeping his chin a little bit high. He's at his best when he mixes it up to kind of, cover up those defensive vulnerabilities. Keep your opponent guessing so he can't target that chin, but this is a fast, big heavyweight. That's scary.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's a scary guy. I love the way he mixes it up, and he's really been improving his defense.
Official
his fight in Dallas against Coulter, he let Coulter back in the fight. He's beating up with leg kicks, and then he was able to win the fight ultimately, but he got better with his defense.
Kind of thing you remember.
Willis.
Justin Willis got into MMA at 18 years old, but he said he had to first fulfill a promise to his late grandmother before pursuing it full time. That was to graduate from college. He did that at San Jose State University with a degree in sociology.
265.5 for Justin
that limit,
Willis.
265.
Cutting down to heavyweight. That's a big deal.
When you see 265, that's never an accident. That's a big dude cutting down.
Oh, some talking going on between them.
The Vanilla Gorilla. I wish Willis's nickname was Great Day.
Featherweight, Frankie Edgar takes on Cub Swanson. First to the scale, Cub Swanson.
Incredible co-main event, the rematch, Cub Swanson. Look, we know what this guy brings. Incredible aggression, big punches, a very exciting style. I'm curious about the first minute, the first 30 seconds. Can he land something big and remind Frankie Edgar about his first knockout loss? Can he get inside the veteran's head with some power punches, getting overreacting to big shots? That might be
next up, New Jersey's own Frankie, the Answer Edgar.
With the Answer, Frankie Edgar. I love this guy, man. I'm a huge Frankie Edgar fan. But the question is, how is he going to react to being knocked out for the very first time? Now, we'll see early in this fight how he's going to respond to punches from Cub Swanson, but he's got to hit some takedowns. That's how he controlled the first fight. We'll see if Cub has made the adjustments that he needs to make to win this fight. This rematch.
And now it's time for a closer look at our main events.
Edson Barboza versus Kevin Lee is a big fight. They both have been in high-profile spots. Kevin Lee fought for the interim title against Tony Ferguson. Edson Barboza fought against Khabib Nurmagomedov in a #1 contenders fight, essentially. Now, didn't work out for him, but how do you rectify that? You go out there and you put on an unbelievable performance against your opponent.
My loss for my first world title was a real eye-opener for me. I was the man to beat me that night. Yeah, Tony might have got his hand raised, but it was really me beating myself. If I can bring that mental up to my physical, then there's not a man alive that can stop me.
You know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I'm a true fighter, man. I take a couple days off, just a couple days, and come back to train again to get better and better to be ready for the next one.
Edson Barboza is one of the nastiest kickers and stand-up fighters in the UFC. Fast, powerful, damaging.
Just getting knocked out! Oh my God! Wow!
When Edson Barboza kicks, it's unbelievable.
I love these challenges. I love somebody like Edson. Everything that you can think of that's scary in a fighter, that's Edson Barboza. And I can't wait to get my hands on him because I'm all that and even more. If this fight stays standing, we looking at a war. If this fight go to the ground, game over.
Mutasi's in trouble. There's the tap. Kevin Lee.
I'm gonna show the world a new MTP.
He's got to be extended. Oh, there's the tap.
I think he knows. I think the world knows. I'm the future of this division.
Kevin Lee never fight a guy like me. I'm a very dangerous guy, you know. I'm very dangerous and creative, you know. Need to be ready for everything, anytime.
The world ain't seen the best Kevin Lee yet. Edson, show up ready, baby.
First to the scale, the Motown Phenom, Kevin Lee.
Kevin Lee, outstanding athlete, phenomenal on the ground, great puncher, aggressive, confident. He gave Tony Ferguson all he could handle. I thought he won the first 2 rounds, ran out of gas a little bit in the third, had trouble with his pacing. But when he's on fire, when he gets you in good
Official
position,
weight,
particularly your back,
157
stretches
for
you
Kevin
out,
Lee.
gets a submission.
His opponent
you
will
cannot
receive an
give
agreed
him
upon
advantage,
percentage
especially on the ground.
of his
He's full of
hurt.
confidence, incredibly aggressive.
Now, he didn't make weight, but, you know, he had a
Next
staph
up,
infection that first time
Edson
around. How did that affect his
Junior
cardio? 'Cause he did slow down.
Barbosa.
Oh man, Edson Barbosa, he is so much fun to watch. Like my mouth is watering just imagining him in there because watching Edson Barbosa is like watching a highlight reel of an action movie, of a Jackie Chan action
Official
movie
weight,
because he is so powerful, so dynamic. He throws
155.5
everything at you with those legs. He
Edson
wins fights with
Barbosa.
flying knees, kicks to the body, kicks to the leg, spinning wheel kicks to the head. I mean, there is nothing that he can't do inside the octagon, and if you can't put him on his back. We haven't seen him dominated by anybody except Nurmagomedov in recent memory. And when you don't dominate him, it's a fight.
I'm here with Kevin Lee. Kevin, last time we saw you was in October. A lot has happened in the lightweight division since then. How do you feel on the eve of this one?
I'm feeling good. Body is there. I apologize to everybody for the mishap with the weight. It's never happened in my career. It'll never happen again. But I'm going to put on the show tomorrow to make up for it.
Good luck tomorrow. Kevin Lee, everyone, the Motown Phenom. And Edson Barbosa making your first appearance in a main event. What does that mean to you?
I'm very happy and very happy to be here in New Jersey. Thank you guys. Thank you everybody coming. And everybody knows every time we step in octagon, I show a good show. And tomorrow night's gonna be a different. Be ready, guys.
Looking forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Edson Barbosa. That's it. Thanks for coming out to the weigh-ins. What a card we have.
Thanks so much, Brendan. Jimmy, what is your reaction to that main event stare down?
Two guys who respect each other. They have a lot of gamesmanship going on, but they're having fun. That's what they can't wait to get in there. That's what I see in that.
Yeah, two guys that really want to mix it up. Kevin Lee is a guy who wants to show the world that he can stand and compete with a guy like Edson Barbosa, and Edson Barbosa wants to show the world that there is no one that can do that.
And with the space in the division, we've talked about before what's happening at the top. Big knockout, you're right there. Both guys know about the opportunity that's in front of them, that it's an opportunity to fight for a title for sure.
Yeah, and what about the co-main event here? The rematch between Cub Swanson and Frankie Edgar. Obviously, the crowd very excited to see their guy, Frankie Edgar, in there. But what did you take away from this face-off?
What I took away from it is Frankie Edgar is showing everybody I'm still happy, I'm still enthusiastic. Nothing is different. I had my first knockout loss, whatever. I'm still the same guy. That's what he's definitely trying to show in that weigh-in.
Frankie Edgar is Frankie Edgar. He puts pressure on you. He's going to come forward, and he should not show us any difference in his style from any other time before just because of the knockout.
Well, that's an exciting rematch in the co-main event, but tomorrow it all starts with the pre-fight show on FS1 at 7 Eastern, followed by the prelims at 8, main card at 10, and the post-fight show immediately following Barbosa Lee. But your place for right now is right here. What happened with Kevin Lee on the scale this morning? We'll hear from the Motown Phenom next. Stay close.